Welcome to the Fate of Ukraine channel. Russian soldiers blew themselves up. Russian soldiers died as a result of the explosion in Kursk region, close to the Ukrainian border. As a result of the increase in accidents on Russian soil, Kremlin started to organize new meetings. Russian official also stated that many soldiers were injured and even lost their lives due to security problems in the country. Russian soldiers in the trenches in the Kursk region tried to burn the stove to warm up in the cold weather. However, the soldiers, who could not get warm, poured gasoline on the stove. As a result of the sudden burning of gasoline, the stove blew up with a huge explosion. As a result of the explosion, a fire broke out in the area. Russian local sources stated that as a result of the explosion, Russian soldiers lost their lives. It was determined that many soldiers died as a result of the explosion. However, as a result of detailed investigations, it could not be determined exactly how many soldiers lost their lives after the explosion. During the cold winter season, soldiers are constantly trying new ways to stay warm. While some soldiers try to warm up in the arsenal, some soldiers try to warm up by burning ammunition. After these events, explosions occur and loss of life occurs. Russian Ministry of Defense stated that a fire broke out in Western Military Zone in Kursk region as a result of a major violation by the army. Russia's state news agency RIA Novosti stated that 6 soldiers were killed in the region and investigations are continuing. Russia's Kursk region is a region bordering Ukraine. After Ukrainian army advanced to Russian borders, Russian army began to dig emplacement systems to protect its borders. We can also state that the current explosion is in Russian positions, because Russian soldiers used a lot of water to put out the fire after the explosion. This time, their positions were flooded. Russian authorities cannot go to the area where the explosion took place because of water. For this reason, the Russian authorities could not reach the Russian soldiers who lost their lives. Last month, Russian soldiers carelessly used ammunition and there was an explosion that passed. Kremlin officials are angry with their commanders because of the increase in accidents on their territory. Russian commanders were angry with the authorities. In the past months, immediately after the mobilization by Putin, he made a large purchase into the Russian army. Soldiers trained for a short time do not know how to use the equipment. That's why Russian commanders say that insufficient troops will cause bigger problems. We're coming phone from United States to Russia. Behind the scenes of the surprise visit revealed. U.S. President Joe Biden went to Kiev for the first time. The foreign press passed the visit of Biden, who met with the President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky, as a surprise. The last statement made by the U.S. official, on the other hand, opened the backdrop of the incident. Since February 24, 2022, when Russia attacked Ukraine, the capital Kiev has hosted its most important guest. U.S. leader Joe Biden went to Kiev with a big surprise. It was announced that President Biden will visit Poland, Ukraine's western neighbor, on the anniversary of the war. However, international news agencies and broadcasting organizations announced the visit of Biden, who went to Kiev without informing anyone, with breaking news. The U.S. president's visit to Kiev marks the first time since the beginning of the war. In the first images reflected on social media from Kiev, air sirens were heard when United States President Biden and Ukrainian leader Vladimir Zelensky were walking towards Michael Monastery. Ukraine correspondent James Waterhouse made a statement about the visit in question, saying, "Kiev official visits are not foreign, but this one is different from the others." The reporter also said, United President Joe Biden made a surprise visit to Kiev. The U.S. leader's meeting with Ukrainian leader Vladimir Zelensky in the midst of an all-out conflict is symbolic and significant. Almost a year after the war, he is sending a clear message to Moscow. United in West will not hesitate to support Ukraine, the reporter said. Joe Biden also stated that he will share details about the new weapons package to be sent to Ukraine and that he will announce additional sanctions targeting Russia. Minutes later, Biden announced that the new aid package was worth $500 million and that HIMARS systems were also included in the package. In the first weeks of 2023, Western countries launched other important weapons tanks that Ukraine had been demanding for months. Germany approved the sending of Leopard tanks to Ukraine, while the United States announced that it would send Abrams to the front against Russian army. The main topic on the agenda since last month is whether to send warplanes to Ukraine. Kyiv administration wants F-16 warplanes from its Western allies. While all these developments were taking place, it turned out that the visit was not a surprise. Speaking to French news agency, a White House official stated that the visit was reported to Russia hours in advance and that any risk of conflict in the region was eliminated. United States National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, who accompanied Biden on his visit to Kyiv, confirmed the incident in a statement to the press. "We have informed the Russians that President Biden is going to Kyiv. We did this a few hours before we arrived in Kyiv in order to eliminate any possible conflict in the region. I will not share what we said and what response we got," the security advisor made a statement. President of the United States Joe Biden visited Golden Domed Cathedral of Michael with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky as part of his surprise visit to the capital of Ukraine, Kyiv. After visiting the cathedral, Biden laid a wreath to commemorate those who lost their lives in Russia-Ukraine war. Zelensky and Biden inaugurated the plaque that was later placed in the name of Biden in the Brave Walk area in Constitution Square. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced that Russian forces suffered extraordinary losses in the Donbas region. While the Ukraine-Russia war continues, fierce clashes continue in the Donbas region of Ukraine. In a statement, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky stated that the Russian forces suffered extraordinary losses and said, "The situation is very complicated and we are fighting. We are defeating the Russian troops and inflicting extraordinary losses on Russia." Referring to several towns in the Donbas region of Ukraine where conflicts have intensified for months, Zelensky said, "The more casualties Russia inflicts there, in Bakhmut, Volodar, Marinka, Kreminna, in Donbas, the faster we can end this war." President of Ukraine Zelensky declared that they were preparing for a short war. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky used the expression, "We are preparing for a short war that will result in victory," for the news that Russia will launch a new attack against them. Expressing his gratitude to Italy, which sent them an air defense system and artillery batteries, Zelensky said, "We expect full cooperation from European Union and we are confident that we will become members. It is essential not to lose the support of Italy and other countries against the disinformation campaign carried out by the Kremlin." Russian President Putin met with Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko yesterday. While the war was being discussed at the meeting, Putin's moments, which were reflected on the camera, became the agenda of the world. The process of the war did not go as the Russian army expected. The Russian army, which had to withdraw from the capital Kyiv in April, was advancing step by step to capture Luhansk, one of the two regions of Donbas, in the spring. The long-range multiple rocket launcher system HIMARS halted Russian advance before it reached Ukraine. Then the counterattack took place. Taking action at the end of the summer, Ukrainian troops first cleared the country's second-largest city, Kharkiv, from Russian troops with a lightning raid in a few days. The victory in Kharkiv, located close to the Russian border, caused astonishment all over the world. Ukrainians headed south for Kherson, as expected in the autumn. With Russians cornered by the HIMARS destroying the bridges connecting Kherson and Crimean Peninsula, Putin was forced to take his most embarrassing step in the war. Russian troops retreating from Kherson also lost the only regional capital they were able to capture. United States is sending Abrams tanks to Ukraine. Germany also accepted the deportation of leopards to Eastern European country. United States is expected to announce to the public shortly that it will send dozens of M1 Abrams tanks to Ukraine. In the American media, news was published that the statement about the M1 Abrams tanks could be made today. An unnamed official speaking to New York Times said that the number of tanks to be sent to Ukraine could range from 30 to 50. The number of Russian soldiers who died on the front line, in a statement made by Britain in the past days, was announced as 200,000. Immediately after this statement, Viktor Fursov, one of Putin's most trusted intelligence agents and who was in charge of the army's brain, lost his life in the conflict in Ukraine. Fursov, who was right behind Putin's New Year's speech last year, also received a medal from the president. On the other hand, President of Belarus Lukashenko recently announced that he will join the war on one condition and that he will stand by Russia if any attack is carried out on his country. We have come to the end of another video. You can like the video to support us. By subscribing, you can easily follow new videos. See you.